Hi, and welcome to another tabletop tip of the day. Today, I would like to talk about something that I covered last week. This is sort of part two, which is, GMs, how hard are you on yourself? Are you? And so something came up in actual play last week, and I was hard on myself after the session had ended. So I want to talk about that. So first of all, there'll be links to the part one in the show notes below, or at the end of the video, you will also be able to get a link to that and watch that if you haven't yet, and if you think that's important. So this is also a great place to say, please hit that like button, please hit that subscription button. All the art that you're going to be seeing on the screen is mine. It has no particular purpose except to sort of advertise that I am looking for work. And, I want to give your eyeballs something to see while you're listening to my lovely voice, which is not so lovely, but, it's the one that I was born with, and what can I do? Anyways, moving along. So we're going to talk about the Conan 2D20 game, which is what we were playing, and there's an economy of points that allow players to do things, and also allows GMs to do things. They're momentum, doom, and fortune, and we're going to really concentrate on fortune. Momentum is a shared currency that all the players can have in a pile, and they can only have 6, and then doom is basically momentum points for the GM, and when players run out of momentum, they then generate doom, but can still do things that momentum would do. And then fortune, each character has 2 to 3 fortune points per session that they start with, and they can gain more during play. And that's what I want to talk about specifically, because a couple of players got online before we actually started playing, and we talked about it, because I was like, I know that the rules for fortune, the guidelines, I haven't been following very well. I do not give out a lot of fortune points. I don't think about it during play very much. I'm very much concentrating on what's going to happen next, how I'm going to interact with the players, might be, dealing with bookkeeping of, NPC stats, during a combat or something like that. So it's just something that sort of slips my mind. And I said to them, if you feel like there's a point where you should get a fortune point, petition me, and I'll be giving it. And I'll read the rule to you guys so you understand where I'm coming from, because this is kind of why I keep forgetting in play and why I'm hard on myself as a GM. So the rule says, one player came up with a perfect plan to thwart an enemy, should get a fortune point, made a bold sacrifice for the benefit of the group, gave a memorable in-character speech, or made everyone at the table laugh. And then other times, GMs may choose to award fortune points to all the players based on their progress in the campaign or during the transition scenes, or fortune points make excellent rewards when characters get to certain narrative milestones. My nose is so itchy, I apologize. And then there's a bunch of other stuff, but then it gets to the general guideline. A game master should award players with 1 to 3 fortune points per hour of gameplay. I don't come anywhere near to close to that. I award 1 to 2 fortune points per session, and our sessions go 3 to 4 hours. So I should be giving out, 4 to 12 fortune points, and I don't. And so that's the rule. I'm obviously not getting that rule down, and I was kind of hard on myself after the game, because I gave 1 fortune point before a combat scene had happened, because they had done a bunch of stuff in the carousing section, which allows you to do certain things, and is sort of like, this is what happens in the next 2 weeks. It really should be called downtime, because carousing is one of the things that happens during that time, not the only thing that happens during that time. You can try to generate renown. You can go out and meet patrons and stuff like that. That's neither here nor there. But in that section of the session, I gave out 1 fortune point to each player character. Then we had a very complicated combat set in a warehouse that one of the player characters owns. There were squatters there who were a veteran mercenary group who weren't going to move and were incredibly arrogant and ridiculous to deal with. And so that combat was complex, because there was characters on different levels. They were all spread out. There was lots of terrain to deal with, and it was a good combat. It was a lot of fun. I didn't give out any fortune points, so at the end of the session, I was like, a little bit hard on myself, where I was like, I didn't live up to what I had just talked about before the session even started. And but I had a thought, and I talked to the players afterwards the next day and talked about this, and I came to the conclusion that I'm being hard on myself, and it's okay. Conan expects bigger than life characters. They're up here. Conan is written up at various sections of his life, and even at his youngest, he's a big deal, and that's where the game designers expect your characters to be. And our characters are about here. And they're very competent, but I wouldn't call them bigger and larger than life. They're not down here, which I would consider first level characters and just completely, novices and noobs in the world. They're not that. So, our characters are here. And the way the game has organically come about, because I had used another system before that, and I've used actually several systems before this in the same world, is that we were expecting a fairly gritty sword and sorcery experience. And so keeping fortune points out of the equation a little bit makes it grittier, because when you run out of fortune points, the players start to feel it. And if they're out of momentum and out of fortune, and say they take a wound and everything is all of a sudden much more difficult to accomplish, then there's a certain level of desperation where they're going to be spending doom or giving doom to the GM in order to accomplish things, and then they know it's going to come back to bite them. So our game style might not need as many fortune points as the game designers thought, and that's okay. So that's the conclusion I came to, and that was my sort of real scenario that happened in at the table. So I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you think about doing something as a GM, and maybe it's not quite to the letter of the law of the rules, but it helps the game out, or it fits your table better. And also, we just have to, as GMs, we have to say if the players are having fun. And my players had fun. They had a great combat. It was tense. It was exciting. One character got wounded pretty badly, but the other two managed to defeat the bad guys. And it was an interesting sort of scenario, because it attacked a resource that a character had, so he was invested. He was the one who got wounded, unfortunately. So yeah, they had fun. Why am I so hard on myself? Why are you so hard on yourself? Let me know. Give me a comment or two. Let me know what's happening at your table. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, don't be so hard on yourself, and keep on keeping on.